Hey, 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 what's going on, everyone? This is Willie Cartwright. I'm Saved to Sane. For this edition of the podcast, I'm Saved to Sane. Glad to have you with us today, regardless of what time you're listening or where you are in the country or in the world. We certainly appreciate having you with us today. Those of you who are out there, if you can text me and let me know if you can hear me, I want to make sure my sound is good. And I appreciate all of that. I know Taisha said great topic notification is on, but that was a while ago, so I'm not sure if she's on live with us. But hey, I am glad, I am ecstatic to be here with you guys. This is my second podcast from our new location, the new city. We're in, those of you who may be familiar, we're in Henderson, not Kentucky, Henderson. Um, let me pronounce it right because I'm a local now. We are in Henderson, Nevada. Um, Not Nevada, Nevada. I think is how it's pronounced. So I have to sound like a local. So I'm still working on that, but we love it here. My wife and I. It is our new home. We love it. So glad to have you join us, Jay Jammin. Appreciate it, loud and clear. Thank you, Papa Lance. What's going on? Glad to hear. Glad to see you. He said, "Good evening, Willie in chat." Yeah. Again, good evening, good morning, good afternoon to all of you. Again, appreciate all of you for being here, and thank you for all of you who are live and who will um, be catching this at a later time and later date and leaving the comments. Yeah, Papa Lance, we are just outside of Vegas. We are about. We just actually went by the strip today to pick up some stuff from a store there near the strip. So we're actually 10 minutes from one end of the strip. I would guess to get to sort of the center of the strip, we're probably 15 minutes away. But Henderson is a beautiful city, beautiful community, suburban area, beautiful. And so it's like night and day. If you get tired of the strip and you want a more suburban life, but still being within reasonable distance to the strip and all the action, Henderson is a wonderful place. So we love it here. So we are good. Neo X, what's going on, Neo? Neo, hold on a minute. I got to talk about some stuff from the last podcast. So I was hoping that you would join us. So yeah, Papa Lance, I had a classmate who live in Henderson. Yeah, Henderson is cool, man. Appreciate it. But listen, I'm going to tell you what today's topic is, and then we're going to talk about some stuff, and then we'll get into that topic. But first of all, as I always, let me say thank you to a couple of people. Always Taisha Essick, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful friend. She's done a lot for this program, this podcast, and for me. And we certainly appreciate her. She's out there somewhere. She may be joining us, but she's out there somewhere listening. So I'd like to say hello to her and her lovely, beautiful family, her husband and the baby. So wonderful to them. We're so grateful to Taisha and also my wife, who is 100% supportive of what I do. She is the number one person in my life, and I certainly appreciate her being so supportive of us, of me in this program. And so, most of you know today's topic is about church hurt. What is it? Is it the catalyst for leaving the church religion and or belief in God? And I certainly want to get into to that topic. Couple of more comments. Neo says she's about to share your video. Yeah, appreciate it, Neo. Please do that. Thank you so much. Um, Hello, fam. This is Henry Mars. How you doing, Henry? Glad to have you with us. Black and Bougie. Hey, enjoyed myself last time. Glad to be back. Hey, we're glad to have you back, and I'm glad that you enjoyed yourself. Um, Before we get into today's topic, let me just kind of touch on the last couple of weeks ago, the last podcast we did. So in the last podcast, we talked about Sonia Massey. Let me make sure I'm pronouncing the name right because I had comments that said I was mispronouncing the name, and so I don't want to do that. So I think it's Sonia Massey or Macy. I think it's Massey. But if I'm wrong, then I certainly apologize for that. And we talked about you guys are familiar with the incident, her brutal murder at the hands of a police officer. So we're not going to rehash all of the details, but the main issue regarding that situation was the fact that she uttered the name of Jesus or I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. I'm forgetting the verbiage, the exact verbiage. But and so we talked about that entire incident, and I wanted to focus on the program. Wanted to focus on the name of Jesus having no power, because she sort of called the name of Jesus as right before this incident happened, right before she was murdered. And so my comment or my point of the podcast was that if someone, a believer, a Christian, will utter the name of Jesus in an attempt to have or to ask for protection, and this person or this individual is still harmed. In the case of Sonia, she was still murdered. What power does the name of Jesus actually have? And so that's sort of a synopsis of what the program was about the last time. And so it got hot and heavy. And I want to tell you guys that it we ended up with well over 200 comments and counting, over a couple of thousand views, I think, at last count, last time I checked, 1,000, 2,000 views. But that is probably the most viewed of the podcast, or one of my podcasts, in a very, very long time. So obviously that topic struck a nerve. I'm going to read you guys some of the comments because I for whatever reason, I have not been getting the comments sent to my phone like I used to get, and I need to check and see why. So it took me a few days, and then I think on Sunday, this past Sunday, I said, well, let me go see because I haven't seen any comments. Let me see what's going on. So I went directly to YouTube and I pulled up, and I had 100+ comments, and I tried to respond to all of them. And then since then, I've had many, many more. So again, Neo, I'm saying this to say, in short, that we have to do a part two. I want to do it next week. And Neo, I want Neo to be a part of it because Neo had asked to be a part of it. So absolutely, Neo, I'm going to set it up and I'm send the link to you to have you join the show next week. Not next week, week after next. So every other week. So I'll let you know, Neo. We'll get that to you. Make sure I get your information. I usually send it. I sent it to Taisha through Facebook. So Neo, I'll have to find you on Facebook, and because that's how I send it. That's easier for me, or we can send another way. But yeah, so so very, very interesting. What I do find interesting about most of the comments is that most of the people kept it focused on what we wanted it to be focused on, which was Jesus and Jesus having no power. Very few of the people actually talked about me believing that I sort of uh, was not being fair, or was doing this too early in lieu of her death, or using her death to push a narrative. And I'm happy about that because nobody really talked about it or touched on that. So I'm glad of that. I'm glad that the people who made the comments, whether I agree or disagree, I'm glad that they kept the comments about what we focused on or what we tried to focus on the podcast. So that was awesome. Neo said, cool. Christine, what's going on, Christine? Greetings, everyone. So before we get into today's topic about church hurt, I just wanted to read you guys a couple of comments and maybe get some of your feedback. Um, and remember, in these comments, I heard every excuse possible. Everything from Sonia was not really a Christian, or she did not have the right connection with God, or I mean, everything. Um, the words that she said was not to protect her, but it was to give her comfort. I mean, sort of everything. And so we get stuff like this. For one person, private nobody 6687. I have too much actual experience when dealing with demons, where the name of Jesus Christ was potent and worked over and over again. My question: how do you know that? Um, Again, it obviously didn't work for Sonia in her situation. Uh, and so there were people who came and I won't say took my defense, but there were people who think like we think here in this podcast, and so they replied to a lot of these comments. And one guy, I think it's a guy, Kevin Hooks 9399, who was on point. Him and another gentleman, he said to this particular lady comments. So your imaginary sky friend worked on your imaginary boogeyman, but he was useless in a real situation. Yeah, sounds about right. He's probably good at helping you find your keys or your cell phone when you lose them, I bet. And that's always, I mean, that's sort of what I say all the time. Uh, and so, yeah, so we get all of these. The blood of Jesus saved my life. I will always trust in the power of the blood. Always, the blood of Jesus will never lose its power. That's from Dr. Dot Gallifrazier, 3426. Um, a couple of people were upset. No, this is not the video. Ain't it? I'm out. That's fine. Appreciate that. Uh, Next person, using the name of Jesus is not a magic trick. Jesus is the Son of God. You develop a real personal relationship with Him. We all died because of sin. Blah blah blah. People came back at her, and so there are plenty more. You guys can go to the YouTube page and read, but I'm not gonna spend all the time reading them. But there's plenty, and so to sum all this up, we're going to do a part two. And those of you who uh, came on a couple of weeks ago and made your comments, or who are listening to this podcast and who disagree or have a different perspective of things that we're saying, even those of you who left comments a couple of weeks ago, I invite you to come and leave comments, be part of the live show in a couple of weeks. Put your comments in the comment section, and we'll address all of those comments. We'll have a back and forth discussion. So I invite all of you to come. All of you who commented right now, it's about 213 comments, but the majority of those are you guys out there trying to defend or trying to tell us non-believers that this power, that the name of Jesus indeed does have power. So I want to invite all of you to come on, leave your comments, and let's have a discussion in a couple of weeks about all of this. And so that's the purpose of me reading some of the comments and sort of opening up with that. Taisha is on. She's in the chat. What's going on, Taisha? Greetings, brother William family. Glad to have you, Taisha. Black and Bougie said, okay, but his all powerful hand still didn't save her. Why won't they address this? Because Black and Bougie, because they can't address that. They're trying to defend something that is indefensible. It's like I said a few weeks ago when I talked about this. It is like baseball. You know, and I think one of the commenters mentioned it as well, because I think I said this before. If you go 3 for 10 in baseball and you do this for a period of time and hit a few home runs, you're probably a Hall of Famer in baseball because you're batting 300. But in any other aspect of our society, 3 out of 10 is failure. And so Christians, when it comes to Jesus of God performing miracles or answering their prayers, it's just like baseball. The 7 times that they pray and ask God to do stuff and nothing happens, they don't talk about those 7 times. But the 3 times that coincidentally they pray and ask God for something and something happens in their favor, all of a sudden is, oh, this God is great. This Jesus is wonderful. He's the greatest thing in the world. He answers all my prayers. But you conveniently forget about the 7 times and 8 times that you prayed and asked for something and never got an answer, or the things that you prayed for didn't come in your favor. And so uh Christians would never have an answer for something. That's why when we have these discussions about when they ask me, well, what would it take for you to become a believer? And I simply say, first of all, your God or your Jesus, if he's what he or she is supposed to be, then they would know what it would take for me to become a believer. But more importantly, I've set out things, I've said things. If your God or Jesus can do A, B, and C, or X, Y, and Z, then I will become a believer. And 0 times out of 0 has this happened, has this occurred. And anytime I say this, I get pushback from Christians or believers who say, well, that's not how God works, or he won't do it like that, or that's self-indulgent, or whatever it is. It's always an excuse as to why we can't test this God. And so when we talk about objectivity and facts and evidence, that evidence that we're looking for has to be testable. That's one of the criterias for is this real evidence? Is that whatever evidence you have, it has to be testable and repeatable over and over and over again. And so Christians, the believers, absolutely have no defense for when we come at them with this logic and this reasoning. Taisha said, "Whoa, 2004K views. Yeah, it's over 2,000 views. So this really struck a nerve with a whole lot of people. So glad that we did this. Taisha, thank you so much for being a part of this. I don't know if you heard earlier. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do a repeat, a part two in a couple of weeks. I'm gonna invite Neo to be on live with me. If you want to be on live, we have all three of us. But I also want to invite the people who left a lot of these comments. I want to invite them to come on into the chat, make their comments, and let's have a discussion about all of this if they're willing to do it. Because evidently there are a lot more people out there listening to the podcast and they're actually coming on, especially those who don't quite agree with our position, our positioning. So Taisha Wright, I'm sorry, Taisha said, meanwhile, someone just lost their job, home, child, or life while you're getting blessed. Black and Boo just said, Taisha Wright, they're so blessed and highly favored while others are going through turmoil. And I'm always asking that question. I mean, does your God have favorites? Is there a magic word that we need to utter? Do we need to say his name 3 times in the mirror? Or what is it that we need to do to get this God and this Jesus activated so that he can bless or show favor on the rest of us? Of those people, those 9,000 kids who die every whatever. So from cancer or whatever it is, or those people who are in the hospital who are praying every day, wishing, hoping for healing. The people who are in even in this country who are starving every day, people who are in other countries who are dying from famine, innocent people who are part of war-torn countries where war is going on and people are literally dying on the street from starvation. Where's your God? Where's this Jesus? All of this, but yet he show favor on you to help you get a promotion on your job, or as someone said earlier, help you find your keys, or help you get a loan for this car that you want. Something's just not right. Taisha said, Candyman, Candyman, Candyman. It's got to be something, Taisha. We're missing the point of something. Henry Mars said, you cannot use facts and logic to get people out of a position in which they got into without logic in the first place. Absolutely, Henry. Ways, Black and Blue said, ways are mysterious. Black and Blue said, got a better chance of summoning Candyman. Sharon, what's going on, Sharon? And so back to a comment that Henry made. Henry, you are absolutely right, and I think, but we do this show because there are others out there who are on the fence, and they're starting to have questions, or they have questions about their faith, and they're listening to us present this logic and this reasoning, and there's a group of individuals out there who are saying, wait a minute, this if I'm honest and I'm objective and I'm open, this stuff don't make a lot of sense. And so those are the individuals that this show is designed for. This podcast and podcasts like this one are designed for. They're designed for people who are having questions. They're designed for those of us who have already, crossed over and decided to leave religion, those belief systems behind, and we're looking for a community of like-minded people. We're looking for a place where we can express our opinions and not be ostracized. So yeah, absolutely. But you're right, Henry. There are always going to be those individuals, and unfortunately, a lot of them who got into this position from an illogical standpoint. And so you're right, logic and reasoning is not going to change what they think about it or at all. But we're going to continue to keep moving and continue to keep doing this and trying to help the individuals who want to be helped, who are reaching out, who are looking for us and finding us on these podcast channels and other social media networks, platforms. Taisha has her platforms that she's doing some similar stuff, and so Neo X has her platform where she's doing stuff talking about some of the same thing, and there are plenty of us out there. So absolutely. So let's keep that in mind. In a couple of weeks, we're going to do a part 2. So let's get into today's topic. Church hurt. What is it? And is this the catalyst for leaving the church, religion, or belief in God? Henry said, I agree with you, and you are absolutely right. Appreciate that, Henry. And so I don't know about you guys, but I get so freaking tired, and I'm trying not to cuss today. Okay, I get so freaking tired of meeting believers who say, you just left because somebody in the church hurt you, or you got church hurt, or you wanted to just do all the things that you always wanted to do. First of all, every Christian that well, I ain't gonna say every Christian, but I, I know Christians who do a whole lot worse than what I do. I don't really do anything. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I'm faithful to my wife. I'm good, and it has nothing to do with church. But I know a lot of believers and Christians who are horrible people. Who are horrible people. Like you wouldn't even know that they're believers. So, but too often I get this pushback from them saying, well, you left the church because church hurt, or somebody in the church hurt you. So let me make this perfectly clear. I've had good and bad experiences with the church, like any and every other organization that I've ever been a part of. I've had good and bad experiences. There have been good and bad people. And I've said this before. I am thankful to the church and my upbringing in the church as a child because it did a number of things. It provided me with some friends, it provided me with some structure at times. It provided me, I met some really wonderful people, some mentors, some fantastic role models in the church. One gentleman in particular, my Sunday school teacher, who was responsible, as responsible as anybody else for helping me to get into college. Um, Another minister who was also a teacher at my high school, my drama teacher, my English teacher, who helped me with my speech impediment that I had earlier in life, that I still deal with from time to time. But he was instrumental in helping me with my speech impediment. And so I have some of the best friends I've met. I met through church, in church, and we stayed friends because of church. So I've had really great experiences with the church. I've also had bad experiences with the church. I've met some really horrible people. I've heard of and seen and known personally people who have abused other people in the name of the church, in the name of God. I've seen people who have physically and sexually abused others who were protected by the church. I've seen the church mistreat my mother, hurt my mother. I've seen the church mistreat me. I've seen the church. I've been part of churches who abused me personally, whether it be from uh, uh, misusing or not reciprocating what I gave to the church when I needed the church. They were not there. They literally turned their back on me. So we had good and bad. But be perfectly clear: church hurt and the actions of individuals is not the reason that I am a non believer. It is not the reason that I consider myself a secular humanist. It is not the reason that I no longer believe in the Abrahamic God or Jesus. Jesus is his divinity. It has absolutely nothing to do with it. What I will tell you, and what I have told people, is that for some of us, church hurt is the impetus for us to begin to ask questions that eventually lead us to doing our research and our reading and our exploring, which then leads us to say, wait a minute, this stuff is not what I thought it was. This stuff is not real. And so again, church hurt and being hurt by somebody in the church itself does not lead most of us. It's not the reason most of us are not believers. Those of us who start off as believers. I'm in a number of organizations, and I'm still a member of those organizations in spite of the actions of people. So that really has nothing to do with it. But let me get to some of these comments because I want to. We'll get into more to that, but I want to hear what you guys have to say. Going back up. Let's see. Texas Goddess, what's going on? Let's see. Church. Let me. Where did we stop at? Black and Bougie said that's. Oh yeah. Black and Bougie said, "Are y'all familiar with Black Atheist rants? He's awesome." No, I haven't. I got to check him out. Black and Bougie. I need to check them out. I appreciate that. Taisha says she's gonna look him up as well. Black and Bougie, you mad at God? Yeah, that's another one all the time. First of all, I can't be mad at something that doesn't exist. All right, so I'm not mad at God for something that doesn't exist. Now, there was a time that I may have blamed stuff on God that didn't happen my way or something bad in my life happened. But at that point, I was a believer, right? But as a non-believer, I'm asking a question. I'm asking myself, why should I be mad with something that I don't believe exists? So no, I'm not mad at God because I don't believe God exists. That's like me being mad at Bigfoot. Bigfoot don't exist, or at least for some reason, Bigfoot don't exist. So yeah, they said church was a waste of time, money, gas, and good outfits. Black and Bougie agrees with you, Taisha. Absolutely. Let's see. I always mess up. Taisha said Christian gaslighting. That's a good video topic. It is. You're right. We need to do that. Again, Texas Goddess, what's going on? Glad to have you with us. Henry said, I read the comments on the other show about Sonya. It's crazy. Our community has ways to go. Illogical thinking is rampant. I'm thankful for your channel. Hey, I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. It is, I may have talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but you talked about the why how people are really illogical about this. I guess I'm still shocked to a point that I had, and I talked about this before. I said before, longtime friends who have completely cut me off because of my position and because I'm saying the things that I say about not being a believer anymore. And even more so, a few more did this a couple of weeks ago after I posted this on my Facebook page. That was the catalyst for us doing that type of show because I posted those comments of Sonya on my Facebook page, and I got all kind of pushback and insults, and got called all kind of names and threats and the whole 9 yards on my Facebook page. And so that was the reason why I wanted to do that show. So yeah, it is really amazing how illogical we are about this whole religion thing. Neo said same. Texas got to say hey to Taisha. Neo said preach. Yeah, Black and Blue just said, hell, I'm human hurt. I'm tired of seeing people get hurt on this God watch. Hey, I'm with you. I am 100% with you. Neo said, hey to everybody. LMA, what's going on? You would think that God would do a better job of removing bad apples from his bunch. You also think that God would do a better job of presenting evidence that we all can see, feel, touch in order to believe in him. But yet, he, she, it, whatever it is, doesn't present the evidence to make all of us believers or enough to make us believers, right? But yet, according to the Bible, we're all going to be condemned to spend eternity in hell. But yet, there's not enough evidence. There's no evidence actually to make us believe. All of the people who believe in God, or this, the Abrahamic God, or any deity, is based on the parents, grandparents, what part of the country, what part of the world you were born in, right? Those are the three main reasons: your parents, your cultural, where you were born in the world, or whoever you were raised by. And then there's those individuals who say, yeah, either I was never a believer, and then something happened in my life that made me a believer, or I was a believer and I decided to seek out evidence on my own when I became an adult, and things happened that made me a believer. Those things that made you a believer, well, they are unique to you, they are not original. meaning that the same things have happened to other people. I don't care if you woke up one night and saw a shining light. I don't care if you was involved in a car accident that they said you should have been dead. I don't care if you had fourth stage cancer and you were cured or you somehow came back. None of those things are original. They are unique to you, but they're not original. And so other people in other parts of the world who've experienced these same things have either attributed to their God, which is different than your God, or they have attributed to no God at all and just say it's just part of life. It just wasn't my time to go, or this what happens. There is nothing that has happened to anybody that has not happened to someone else. So you're not an original. I don't care if you had stage 4 cancer. You're not the first person to come back from stage 4 cancer. I don't care what it is. If you survive being struck by lightning, you're not the first person to survive being struck by lightning. So there's nothing original. Now you can subjectively say, well, because of God, I'm still here, or because of my God, this happened. But you have no objective evidence that is testable, repeatable, that you can show us that this is A, the result of a God, B, the result of your God. And so until you can do that, then all the rest of it is just BS to me. LMA said he don't do shit. They thrive there. Oh, LMA said, I'm sorry, that was Black and Bougie. LMA said you would think that God would do a better job. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I think I read that already. Neil said, yes, I love Black Atheist Rant. Y'all going to love him. He don't play. Texas God said, Willie, I was thinking yesterday that I don't miss church at all. I'm gonna get back to that, Texas God. Let me read these other few. Neo, he's a great young man. Texas God says it's crazy how church was such a huge part of my life, but I literally have no interest in it at all. Black and Bougie said, and he was always telling somebody to tell you something. That's another one. Texas God said, Willie, how are you feeling emotionally since you got all of that pushback from the Sonya video? Let me address all of those, Texas. I appreciate you asking. How am I feeling? I was shocked. I'm supposed to be a person, people say that I don't have emotional feelings about stuff. And I try not to, and that, I don't get wrapped up in all of that. I don't, but I was surprised and moved back by several individuals who I thought were personal friends of mine, who I've been knowing for years and years. I think I mentioned it before. I have a not just a fraternity brother, but a line brother. Those of you who are not familiar with the fraternity sorority process, a line brother or line sister is someone who you pledge with. And so my line number is number 5. This person that I talk about was right close to me. It was number 7. And so this person also was part of a text group that we had, and we would talk about everything from sports to politics to whatever. And we would laugh and joke. And, I've been in the fraternity for almost 35 years. So I've been knowing this person since 1990 or before. And because of this person has absolutely said they will have nothing else to do with me, hasn't spoken to me. I even, against my better judgment, I even apologized personally to this person because it's I don't try to hold grudges, nothing like that. It's not that big of a deal to me. But I apologize personally to this person. And those of you who follow me on Facebook know that I also apologized if people felt hurt, but I didn't remove the post, and I'm not going to remove the post. So that was I guess hurtful in a sense, but then you realize who your real friends are. And there were other people who I've been knowing even longer than 35. I've been known for 40, 45 years that said some things and said some hateful things. So and so long story short, I guess it did sort of, but I made a promise to my wife that I would not post stuff like that anymore on my Facebook page, and I would just save it for the podcast. I sort of promised her that. I haven't posted anything in like 3 weeks, anything at all. But me being me, it's just a matter of time before I go back to doing that and probably offending people. But as of right now, I haven't. And so I'm still debating as to whether or not I would go back to my Facebook page, only because, and you guys know this, Facebook is for old people. And so what I'm saying is that people in my demographic, they've morphed into their parents. And so they are stuck in their thought process. They are never going to uh, entertain the idea that they could be wrong about their religious beliefs. Instagram is a little bit better. TikTok is absolutely a lot better. Um, and this podcast, because people actually come to us searching, and so it's much better. So for that reason, I may not go back to Facebook because Facebook is a bunch of old fogies. Um, and I'm part of that group, but I don't consider myself old like that. They're old and closed-minded, and like I said, they're morphed into their parents. So yeah, so Texas Goddess, yeah, I appreciate that. You asking that. Someone that also mentioned about not missing church at all. I stopped going to church. So the first time we stopped going to church was in 2015. And a couple of years later, we went back. I've told this story before, but long story short, it was some things happening in our life. My mentor, who was a minister at the time, is a minister, but he's a great guy. I love him to death. Him and my mother-in-law and some other people in our family kind of got together. They were like, yeah, this is happening to y'all because y'all left the covenant of Jesus. So being newly non-believers, my wife and I, we sort of gave in to the pressure and tried to go back in 2017. But once the toothpaste is out of the tube, it is hard to go back and sit there and listen to that bull. And that lasted a very short time. And so I think we went on and off, and then we found a church who was doing excellent community outreach. And we loved that part. So we would go on Saturdays or whenever and help them do the community outreach. We would feed people, talk to people. But again, it was, they would get into this, you need to be saved and all this other kind of crap. So eventually we left. I think 2019 was probably the last time that I stepped into a church outside of a funeral. I think I've only been to one funeral since then. And so now, yeah, so I don't miss it at all. I love having my Sundays free. Living where we live now, there's a beautiful park right across the street from us. We walk in distance, and we walk that park on Sunday mornings. Now that's our sort of meditation. My wife and I, we love it. So yeah, I don't miss it at all. And so some of the other questions, Texas Goddess said, Willie, you are human. Yeah, I'm finding that out, that I am human. Black and Bougie said, people are always saying we're non-emotional when in actuality, we have more compassion and empathy than their God ever has. You know what? I've made that point to people. I say, I am more moral than your God will ever be. And I think when you do stuff with people or you show compassion to people, you don't do it for notoriety. My wife and I've done many things. My wife is the nicest person you're ever going to meet. We've done so much, but we never talk about it. And so, and I don't care to talk about it. I don't get into it. And so I let people think what they want to think about me. That's always been something about me. I've always had that about me. I've never tried to be the nicest and the sweetest person in the world. I think there are a lot of nice people. I think we have enough nice people in the world. I'm not saying I'm not nice, but I'm not. If you talk to someone, if you talk to three people who have known me in different parts of my life as a child, in my 20s and early 30s, and now, they would none of them. The one, if you ask them to give you 5 characteristics of me, I'm almost sure neither of them would say, "Well, he's a really nice guy." I'm not a bad guy. I am who I am. I'm blunt. I'm direct, and so that's who I am. But yeah, hear me say, do those people on Facebook know about your book? Yes, some of them do. Again, another one of my line brothers refused to buy the book. He said he would not allow the book in his house. Um, so yeah, they know. I guess I mentioned it when the book first came out. A couple of them actually read the book and came back and said, "You know what? This is not what I thought it would be. We need to have these discussions. I appreciate that. This is really different than what I thought it would be." And I'm glad that I read the book. So some of them have said that. But all people, Generation X and older, those people are very close-minded. They will not read anything that's not the Bible. My in-laws haven't even. I don't even think they won't touch the book. And they're very religious. And it's funny too because my father-in-law came at me as well, which he's never done in almost 20 years of me and my wife been together. He's real chill. He's never, but he even came at me about this post, and I said a few words to him, and I think that kind of squashed it. But yeah, it was kind of funny. But yeah. Um, so let's see. NeoX said, my nephew told my Facebook is for old people too. It is. Yeah, my niece and nephew told me the same thing, and other people told me, even some of my students told me that Facebook is for old people. Somebody said, here was the last time I used Facebook. Facebook was 2011. Now that made me feel bad, Henry. Let's see. Neo say, Black and Bougie, all facts. Like hit the like button. Yeah, please hit the like button. LMA say, I attended the church one time after leaving, and it was crazy to see all of the manipulation tactics that I didn't notice before. Yeah, that is one. Like, it's really hard to go back once you've made a decision and you've read and now you understand what's going on. It's really hard to go back, and you have to sort of fake it, and it's very hard to do that. And so again, the whole church hurt thing is, I think for non-believers, I think for believers, telling us non-believers that it's church hurt, I think it's a defense mechanism for them. They can't believe, fathom the thought that there are people who used to believe just as hardcore as they believe that are now non-believers. So what they have to do, they have to look for an excuse as to why we're no longer part of the church or no longer part of their belief system. And so they come up with these crazy things like, oh yeah, it was church hurt. You really got hurt by the church. It's really not God's fault. God didn't do anything. Jesus didn't do anything. It's really the people of the church, and people are human and they make mistakes. Nah, that ain't it. Most of the people that I know who used to be believers, who are no longer believers, are there because there is not sufficient enough evidence to make us believe in these mythical beings. Period. That's as simple as I can make it. There is not enough evidence to make me believe that the Abrahamic God is real, or in the divinity of Jesus, or any other deity for that matter. Simply, that's it. And as a former believer, as I started to do my, and so now, but let me get back to something that I had mentioned earlier. Um, could church hurt be the catalyst for people to start questioning? Absolutely. Because here's what happens. And I always use this analogy. If I tell someone, if I'm mentoring a young man, let's say he's in his 20s and he's dating someone and he's thinking about marrying her, and he comes to me and I tell him, I said, listen, man, marriage is the best thing in the world. I had the greatest wife in the world. It saved me. It is the greatest thing in the world. And everybody should be married. But every time he sees me, I'm out at a club or I'm at a bar, or he see me trying to talk to other women. So he's going to start asking this question. Wait a minute. I thought this marriage thing was all of that in a bag of chips. Clearly, there's a disconnect there somewhere. And so when people in the church who's supposed to be devout and followers of Jesus, and you see them doing the same thing that people who are not in the church are doing, and in some cases worse, you start to say, wait a minute, what's up with this faith thing, this believing in Christ thing? If this God or this belief in this in the things you say about the Bible and this God was really true, then I would think that you would be afraid, or that you would be capable of doing some of the things that you're doing. Now, I understand being human, I understand making mistakes, but literally, let me tell you, I know married Christian men who routinely, is part of their makeup, go out searching for other women to cheat with. Now, a mistake is one thing, but having this part of your makeup, I mean, just not just cheating, but a lot of other things that I see people doing. And so that in itself is saying, wait a minute, something is not right. And so for some people, that may be the catalyst for them saying, well, let me look closer into this thing that I call my faith. Because for many of us, we got into this faith thing because, as I said before, because of our parents or what part of the world we live in. And we really didn't do a lot of research into this thing. I mentioned being a part of many organizations. There was one organization that I won't mention, that I was a part of, that I became part of when I was really young, like 18 or 19. And I didn't know much about it, but I just knew everybody around me, all the men around me were becoming part of this organization. And so I became part of this organization. But once I got in, I realized there was a lot of things that I didn't know about this organization. And so I sort of silently renounced the organization, and so I no longer consider myself a part of this organization. I didn't make a grand announcement to anybody or whatever. I just don't participate in any activity, and I never talk about it. But that's because I didn't know a whole lot about it. And so that's what because I didn't know a whole lot about it prior to getting into it. And so that's what's happening with some Christians who former Christians. They got into it, they was born into it, and then when they finally sit down and say, "Wait a minute, let me really take a look at this. Does this make sense? Does this make sense for me? Is this logical? Is this rational?" And they're finding that it's not. And again, maybe it was something that they saw in the church, or something that happened in the church, or the actions or the activities of a beloved or respected church member that caused them to say, "Wait a minute, let me step back and let me start answering these questions." Whatever it is, that's fine. But again, as I've said time and time again, for those of you out there who are going to come on and make comments after this live podcast is over, church hurt is not the reason that I am no longer a believer. Church hurt is not the reason that I am no longer a believer. This is my Dr. Umar impression. Church hurt is no longer the reason that I'm not a believer. And for most of the non-believers that I know, is the same thing. Church hurt is not the reason that they are no longer believers. Wanting to do the things that we want to do is also not the reason that we're no longer believers. As a matter of fact, as a Christian, I was able to do certain things and then ask for forgiveness, and I was good. And so now I don't do certain things because of the humanity in me, not because I'm fearful of a God or worried about going to heaven or hell. I don't do things because I don't want to hurt the people around me. I don't want to hurt myself. I don't want to disrespect myself. And it is not who I am. I do good things for people because I am a human being and they are a human being. And it's called decent humanity. I want to see other human beings doing well in life. Period. Has nothing to do with a belief system, has nothing to do with a religion, has nothing to do with trying to avoid hell or make it into heaven. Unfortunately, many Christians, that is the way that they operate. Back to the comments. Let's see where we stopped at. I appreciate the comments from all of you guys. This really helps the show a lot. Black and Blue just say, uh, like we said, I went to church with my sister last year. That shit sucks. And I can't, it is so hard for me. Like, I'm not even gonna try to go because I have no reason to go. And so I'm not even going. But that little 3 or 4 year period that we were in and out, back and forth to church, it was really difficult. I mean, it's really stressful if you really look at it. It's anxiety and it's stressful. It's like I remember when I was deep in the church, it was like, oh, I gotta go to church because I can't miss church. I can't let God down, or this is gonna happen, or this is gonna, and it was just so stressful and filled with anxiety. And now I'm so happy that that is not part of my life anymore. Uh, One CNN and this is Jay Jamming. One CNN and Beyonce finally came out and say that the Bible is made up allegory. They'll blow their damn brains out. Yeah. But a lot of people, well, I guess a lot of people know, but there are people who know. There are people who are believers, who are in high positions, who are believers, who know that this is all made up. Um, and so I don't. And so we understand that there's a money making operation. It's control. It's all a whole lot of reasons why religion is still such a large part of our society. Neo said, um, when I was at a friend's funeral, the pastor said that my friend didn't get her healing here on earth because she got her healing in heaven. I got up and went to the bathroom, shaking my head. Yeah, again, it's the mental gymnastics that believers do to make sense of something that is nonsensical. It is the mental gymnastics that they do. There's an excuse for everything And so a lot of times it doesn't make sense, but they have to do it because they're so locked in, they're so devout until in their own minds they have to make sense of it, and they hope that other people believe it too. And so some of the things, if they were able to stand out and objectively hear themselves say certain things, they will realize how asinine and stupid a lot of the excuses they make sound. Fortunately, they're not able to do that. Um, let's see, where are we? Black and bougie, if you fail to protect your children, you get charged with neglect. But when God does it, he works in mysterious ways. Again, more of the mental gymnastics, everything from, well, yeah, but she's in a much better place. How do you know she was ready to die? How do you know she's in a much better place? The problem I have with most of these excuses is that people begin with the premise that this God is real without presenting objective evidence that this God is real. And so when you start from that standpoint, to these people, all of these excuses make perfect sense. But to us who know that this God is not real, it makes absolutely no sense to us. And so it's like saying, well, you know, Peter Pan is going to save us. Peter Pan doesn't exist. So that whole thought process is crazy. So it's the same thing. Um, let's see, you Black and Blue say J Jam and yep. Here it says, my friend is trying to invite me to their church. Been there, done that. Henry, I asked them a few basic questions. They couldn't answer. I asked who wrote the Bible, who selected the books of the Bible, and why. Excellent questions that they have no clue. They don't know. One of the things that I like about being out here on the West Coast, out in the Vegas where I am, is that we've been here for 2 months now, and not a single person has asked us to go to their church, invited us to their church, asked us what church we belong to, asked us if we were religious or not. As a matter of fact, a lady just yesterday we were at a vegan fest. Um, Looked at my wife and said, um, "You're not religious, are you?" I believe that you're spiritual. And so, because if you were religious, da 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 da. And my wife told me about it. We kind of laughed. And my wife is sort of Buddhist from that standpoint, but it's sort of secular Buddhist. So she considers herself spiritual, and we have these discussions all the time, and that's fine, no problem with that whatsoever. Um, but the point of it was that these people are saying, no, if you're religious, if you're a Christian, if you're Jewish, if you're whatever, then that's not our cup of tea. But if you, and this is right up my wife's alley. She's she's into nature and all those things, so it was perfect for her. So it was just refreshing to be in a place new for 2 months and not have people assume that you're part of a church or ask you to come to their church, whatever. And to be quite honest, I see a whole lot less churches, of course, than what we saw living in the deep South. And so Jay Jam said, firsthand experience with that one. My so-called husband was the biggest hypocrite, drove me away from it all. Oh yeah, we all know people who are in our family who are very close to us who love Jesus and God, but they're some of the worst people that you could ever want to be around. So absolutely, Black and Blue just say my Sundays are for going to IKEA, decorating, and drinking wine like Jesus. Listen, I am anti-IKEA only for this reason. I went one time in Atlanta, and that was my first time going, and I got lost in that damn store and no one could tell me how to get out. And the way it's designed, you have to walk through the entire store, and their hopes is that you buy something before we can find our way out. And I was PO'd. I was pissed that I couldn't get out of that damn store. And so I am not an IKEA person. Besides, I don't like putting stuff together either. The furniture that my wife and I bought for our new place, we did have to put it together, but it was a lot easier than I think what we would have gotten from IKEA. But absolutely, whatever you do in the fall, now that I'm on the West Coast, I will be watching football at 10 o'clock in the morning. And so I am excited. I am even more excited because I start my Sunday off now watching football, or it's a time to relax and walk in the park or whatever it is, sleep in, whatever. I love it. I love reclaiming my Sunday from this mythological entity that we call God or Jesus. Um, Taisha said, I second drinking wine. Uh, Jay, what's going on, Jay? Glad to have you. I'm no longer a believer, but my wife is still in the faith. I still go to church and out of respect for her, but I really don't look forward to it every Sunday. Jay, I think there are some other people who are in that same boat. Um, maybe we'll have some other people. I think Taisha either used to be in that same boat or maybe still is in that same boat. I don't know if she want to share her experiences, but I think she's talked about it before. Um, and so there are other people who are in that same boat. And I think it's just a matter of the relationship and what works and what doesn't work. Um, yeah, and I don't know how I would be. I'm not sure if me personally, at this point where I am, if I could still go to church. Maybe right after I left, I could still go for a while. But yeah, but once you've really immersed yourself in this and understanding and reading so much stuff that I've read so much stuff, it is next to impossible for me to go back into a church. But yeah, bro, keep whatever you need to do to keep the marriage going. Do what you got to do, bro. LMA, I believe the main draw of the Abrahamic religion is that you can revolve yourself of accountability. Oh, I think it's supposed to be resolve yourself of accountability, or for your actions. You can blame it on spirits or the devil. It's never your fault. 100. 100. That's it. It's not my fault. How many times have all of us seen a pastor, a well-known pastor, do some shady, messed up, immoral, unethical, illegal crap and come before the church and say, it was the devil got in me, I talked to God, he forgave me, and y'all should forgive me, and the people of the church all forgive him. And like new, he's back doing what he's doing, everything is good, just to find out, a few months later, he's back doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. This is um, a vicious cycle that many of these pastors or church members engage in, and the sheep continue to follow them and make all kind of excuses. Well, he's only human. Everybody make mistakes. Blah 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 blah. Yep. So that I agree with you 100%. Black and Bougie says, but that's why it requires belief and faith. Absolutely. Black and Bougie said, Jay, you are a good husband. Yes, you are, Jay. You are a good husband. Um, let's see. We're gonna read the rest of these comments and probably end with that. Jay said, at Black and Bougie, it's hard to sit through the last. No, man. It is hard. It is hard. It is. I don't know if you got to tune it out or you got to be like a child and get on your phone and do some stuff. It's I think the last few times my wife and I went, we knew it was over because we both were on our phones like the whole time doing the sermon. And we never did that before. And so we kind of looked at each other like, yeah, this is a wrap. But yeah, man, whatever you got to do. Somebody said, Black and Bougie said, my little sneaky link say it's not a religion, it's a relationship. But how does he explain his fornication with to mean to God? These is our nuts. Black and Bougie, that might have been like TMI. That might have been TMI. But yeah, that's a good question to ask your sneaky link. How you explain his fornication? Is he married, or because there's some adultery going on too? If he's married, but at a minimum, it's the fornication. Absolutely. So yeah, I'll just leave that alone. Taisha say yes. Hubs and daughter goes while I stay home and my own business. There you go. There you go. There you go. And that works. And yeah, and I think you just have to have that discussion at some point. If it happens during the marriage, you just gotta have this discussion. If it happens, if y'all know this before the marriage, and I've told women who are in the church, I said, listen, I said, don't limit your mate to someone who is a believer like you. I said, stop defining a person by whether or not they're believers. You could be a murderer, a rapist in our community. I'm saying the black community. But as long as you believe in God, somehow you are all right person. And that's not the case. And so I've told women who are single, who are looking for husbands in the church, I've told them, don't limit yourself to just men in the church or to believers. I said, there are a lot of really good men out there who are either don't believe the way you believe or don't believe at all, but would treat you like a queen, would treat you right a lot better than a lot of men in the church. I cannot tell you, and you guys know this, I cannot tell you how many men and women have been hurt by their significant others who profess to be God-fearing people. I can't, the list is endless, day in and day out. Um, so yeah, do what you got to do. Black and Blue just said I butchered that. That's all right. That's all. You're married to a believer. Are you asking? Oh, you're asking Taisha. Taisha, that I think. Taisha, I think Black and Blue just asking you if you were married to a believer. If you're asking me, Black and Blue, no, my wife is not. She was Muslim by birth until she was like 20 years old. And then she converted to Christianity. And then we both walked away from the Abrahamic religions back in 2015. She is now a sort of a secular Buddhist, spiritual, into nature, um, and pretty much a secular Buddhist. And so, no, she's not a believer at all. She's always had an issue with this Jesus divinity thing. She's had an issue with this God, at least God of the Bible. Her definition of God is completely different than what most people, at least people of the Bible, of the Abrahamic faith, believe. And so no, so that's me. So I don't know if you meant that for Taisha. Uh, excuse me. Neo said, I think they all scammers now. I'm almost there with you. That almost all of them are. Black and Blue just said, I know I couldn't help it. Elevate said, absolve. Yeah, well, that's fine. We knew exactly what you meant here. I don't. I'm the last person to be correcting someone's English. Trust me. So yeah, we got you. We know what you mean here. Black and Blue said, no, he's not married. Oh, he's not married. Okay. Well, now he just has fornication on his sheet. um, let's see. Tanisha said on the YouTube show "Pop the Balloon," I cringe when they dismiss potential mates because relationships with God. Listen, Tanisha, let me tell you about that show. Those of you who know the whole balloon popping show, it's like a guilty pleasure of mine. I see it, I'm like, oh God, not again. But I can't turn away from it because I like to hear the reasons as to why they're not feeling each other, right? And you're right, Tasia. The first time I would hear, "Oh, I need a man of God," and I'm just like, "Oh, no, here we go." Or I need a woman of God. That whole thing is just, I'm just like, nah, I can't do it. Um, I'm get these last few in. Black and Blue just say, I prefer a relationship with an atheist, but if not, I don't want to be pressured. Yeah, I can see that. It makes sense. Jay Jam said, thumbs up. Appreciate it. Taisha, what a joke. That's from Black and Bougie. I think she's talking about the TV show. And Taisha answered you, Black and Bougie. Yes, my husband is a believer. I speak more about this on my video, 10 years religion free. Yeah, you guys check out Taisha's stuff, please, and check that out. Because we've had the discussion on here. Her and I have had the discussion personally, but we've had the discussion on here. So it is great insight to a non-believer who is married to a believer and how they make it work. So absolutely. They said those church dudes be fornicating like a mother all the time. When I was in church before I got married, I was all over the place. I was wait, listen. Since Black and Bougie can make a confession, I will too. Listen, when I was married to my first wife, when I was in my 20s, I was married to my first wife. I was deep in the church. Man, I was doing everything. Only thing I was turning on was my collar. This is while I was married. That's why I was staying married for three years. But yeah, and you know, and it wasn't. I didn't really feel guilty, but I knew that I could just ask for forgiveness and pray, and then I'll be all right. But I was just doing what I felt came natural, and at the time I was Christian, but Church of Christ because my first wife was Church of Christ, and her father was like, "You can't marry her unless you become Church of Christ." That's a whole nother discussion. That's a whole nother thing. So I ended up getting married. I ended up getting baptized for like a third time, and all this other stuff. So that's a whole. I think we talked about that as well. But yeah, Tease, you're absolutely right. You are absolutely right on that. Final comment, Black and Bougie. Taisha, we've both been on this journey the same length of time. So yeah, so listen, I appreciate all of you guys for making this really fun. It was a little bit more lighthearted than it was a couple of weeks ago. But I appreciate it. I hope you all got some out of this. Please subscribe. Please tell your friends to subscribe. I will find a copy of my book so I can start pushing it again here on the show so you guys can get the book. But since we moved, I cannot find where I place my copies of my book. So I would do that. But my book, From Saved to Sane, please buy it. Please pick it up on Amazon. I will see you guys. Wait, what? Taser said my new best friend. Yes, he's very uninhibited. Yeah, uninhibited. We have a great time, and he goes right to church. All righty then. On that note, I think that is the perfect note to end on. Black and Bougie, I certainly appreciate you today. Taisha, thank you so much for being here. Jay Jammin, thank you. Let's see who else. Neo, thank you, my friend. We will get you on the show in 2 weeks. Who else? LMA, thank you for coming. Thank you for being on here. Jay, appreciate you. Who else? Henry, certainly appreciate you and your comments. And anybody else who I may be forgetting. Texas Goddess, always Sharon, always thank you. Make sure we say thank you to everybody because I'm so appreciative to have all of you to continue to support me. Now that I got more time, guys, we're going to work on making this a better platform, better show. I got time on my hands now to do a little bit better with the presentation as presented. I'm going to get some help, but we're going to do some different stuff. Try to reach out to some people, get them on the show as well. Now I have time. We're kind of settled in. My schedule is a lot less. I'm teaching a couple of days a week, but that's really about it. And I'm teaching virtually online. So that's great. Christine, thank you so much. I think that's pretty much everybody. Papa Lance, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. And that is it. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Take care. I look forward to a part 2. The name of Jesus has no power. See you.